Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome back to Buried. Now we're beginning chapter 5 and we're almost done with this. Again, to recap, chapter 4 was nuts. It was basically running from start to finish. But now we're going to figure out exactly what the consequences of my actions are. And why all of this stuff is here. We're now inside a large reinforced chamber of sorts, almost like the inside of a submarine. Near us is the door, shut tight. Far away from us along the back wall are all sorts of controls and monitors. It seemed clear that this metal door is impenetrable, at least to them. I'm fairly sure that they aren't getting in. Dennis looks like a walking corpse, and I do everything in my power to not let this show in my expression. His face is a grimace. He shouts at me, "To hell with you." What were you thinking? Blood pools on the floor below wherever he holds his arm. I say nothing. It's all too much. My brain feels like jelly. We need to get him help, or he's going to bleed to death, Amy says. We're interrupted by a man's voice booming behind us. "Just what in the hell do you think you're doing?" the man roars. He's an older man who seems to exude power and authority, but he also looks tired and scared. I assume this is Barksdale. He walks over to us from the back recesses of the chamber. "We didn't have a choice," Amy responds. "We had to. Did you override the locks on the hangar door?" "Yes, I did, but we had to. Do you have any idea what you could have done?" Amy doesn't answer right away. She's furious. But she's also scared and visibly quiet and exhausted. "I'm gonna ask who this is. Who is this?" I address my question to Amy, preferring to get my info from her rather than whoever this is. The man doesn't break eye contact with Amy. "Colonel Barksdale. He runs the place," she says, annoyed. "Look, Barksdale," she says, "you can berate me and lecture me all you want when this mess is over. But right now, I have a wounded civilian here, and as you can see, several entities trying to get into this room. So if you could actually do something instead of sitting on your throne and yelling at me, that would be great." I'm impressed by her guts and wonder if there's some sort of beef between the two of them. Surely working in a place like this could cause some stress and tension between people. As we wait, I notice a small peephole in the door. I go to it and look out to the things. They're still looking for a way in, but finding no success. I wonder if they can sense or somehow see me through the door. "Flip them the bird. Yeah, I'll do that. Middle finger defense." I can't help myself. I hold my middle finger up to one and smile defiantly. I get a blast of high-pitched sound in response. "You'll be reprimanded for speaking to me in such a way," Barksdale says to Amy. "Reprimand me all you want. I'd like to survive this first." "Cover your ears," Barksdale shouts, walking away towards the far end of the room. "Stay put until you hear back from me." "Thank you," Amy says with fire in her voice. She then turns to me and says, "Better do what the man says." "Yep, I'm not gonna question. I'm gonna cover my ears." I clap my hands over my ears just in time to protect my hearing from the deafening blast. I'm still bleeding, and the sudden movement to cover my ears makes me feel dizzy. Dennis clumsily covers one of his ears with his hand and one with his bandaged arm. When I see the shape he's in, I get myself in check. Compared to Dennis, I'm in tip-top shape. I did that. I took the shot that took off his hand. I need to make all of that mean something. More bursts of a loud explosive noise start to ring out. Looking through the peephole again, I see the core of one of the beasts explode. It vanishes in a puff of smoke and clear liquid. Looking to my left, I see Barksdale in a shooting stance at the far end of the room. He's firing through a small slit in the wall. He's using some high-powered weapon, the likes of which I've never seen. I see a slight movement as the gun kicks, accompanied by a flicker of white light. Immediately, another monster is downed, its tentacles flailing around aimlessly as most of its core is torn through. I instantly feel gratitude and an immense satisfaction in knowing that they're being picked off in such a way. I think we need to sit down and rest. Just one little bit of a breather. I slide down against the door and simply wait, listening to the occasional patter of what I can assume is their blood on the wall. I don't know how much time passes, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. And I don't care. It feels nice to lay down, even with the sensation of blood rushing from my hurt shoulder. When the firing is over, I barely even notice it. Soon after, Barksdale walks back over to our side of the room. "They're all gone," Barksdale says, "and I have resealed the hangar doors." "How'd you kill them like that?" I ask. "Classified weapons that, quite frankly, you have no business being near." Amy gets to her feet and returns to the panel on the wall. "Thanks. How badly are the civilians hurt?" Barksdale asks. "One is in very bad shape. He's lost a hand and a lot of blood. The other is not too bad. I see a laceration on his back and that's about it." "Okay, I'll have Strickland get a med kit." "Strickland survived?" Amy asks, sounding hopeful. "Yes, and until you and your friends showed up, I thought we were the only ones. Hang tight, she's on her way." With that said, he retreats away to the back of the room as if he can't stand to be around us. Amy approaches me and looks me over. "You're in good hands. Strickland will be able to fix you up." "Is she a doctor or something?" Sort of. She's also a physicist, but oddly enough, she spent time as a trauma nurse in the army. Is Strickland a friend of yours? Yeah, we've known each other for a while. The only women in a sea of overachieving men. You must be glad Strickland survived. Focus on the good, not the negative. I am. We usually have lunch together, and she's helped me out with a few tight spots in my career. Within a few seconds, the door behind us opens and a woman appears back further into the chamber. She enters the room with what looks like a small suitcase. She's dressed in a very basic way and drab military getup, complete with a holstered sidearm. My name is Connie Strickland, she says. I can patch you guys up pretty well, but it's gonna hurt. She looks closely at Dennis, looking him over with precise care and attention. You're not in the best shape. He responds in a grunt. Seriously, I can fix you up, but only temporarily. You need intensive care for that arm. First things first, though. Strickland pours a liquid over his maimed arm and starts stitching. She then wraps his arm with 3 entire spools of gauze. Blood shows through right away. That's the best I can do for now, she tells him, giving him a sympathetic frown. I could care less, Dennis mutters. I'm a cripple. Do whatever you want as though it matters. Strickland then looks at me. Sit down and let's see if we can get your shirt off, she says. I sit down slowly and start unbuttoning my shirt. She has to help me slip it off my shoulder, but we manage. How bad is it, I ask. Bad. It's almost like a burn, but I've seen much worse. Your friend here, for example. I might as well talk to Strickland, if only to distract from the pain. You're a scientist too? Strickland rolls her eyes as she gathers up a needle and some thread. I was always into fringe science. I started in labs where the eccentric Russian scientists were being funded by the US to work on combining DNA types. I sort of became obsessed with perfecting human physiology while I was a trauma nurse in the army. You were a mad scientist then? I get that a lot, but no, not compared to the stuff we do here. I don't even want to know. Frankly, I've learned enough. You sound like my mother, Strickland says. She wants to make sure I'm safe and cared for. She knows my job is sort of dangerous, but of course I can't tell her any details, so she just worries. Any other family, I ask? No, she says as she works on me. I'm a workaholic, no husband, no kids, it's always been my job. And until about a month ago, I loved it. What happened a month ago? That's when the teams were stumbled upon onto what they thought was a big discovery, Amy says, answering for Strickland. Yeah, Strickland said, that big discovery resulted in 20-hour workdays. I've been sleeping in my office for about a week now. When you guys ran in here, I was horrified. Those barrels outside, I'm not sure if you saw them, but if you'd shot them, it could have been bad. Why, I ask? The gray ones are filled with an experimental fuel that's highly flammable. The yellow ones contain liquid nitrogen. What? Just laying around? Well, this area is the safest in the building, the most secure. Well, it used to be anyway. And take this, she says, handing me 4 pills, painkillers. They won't work immediately, but they'll dull the worst of what you're feeling. Are these the best idea? Won't they make me dizzy or out of sorts or something? All I get in response is an annoyed and determined look. I'm gonna hold off. Because if Dennis made it this far in so much pain, I can take a little more. I'll hold off. I'm gonna hold off. I don't need him that bad. Really, I say. I don't want to get lightheaded in case we have to move fast. I can handle it. Your call, Strickland says as she starts working on me. She slathers the wound in some sort of liquid that stings like crazy and I gasp. Ouch! Owie! Oh! Ow! My wound! My interdimensional wound! Yeah, best not to complain when Dennis is there. Ready to stab me yet? I'm fine, I hiss. I wince as she dabs at my eye, swollen from where Mark has kicked me. I grit my teeth in pain and try to catch my breath. Dennis comes out of his haziness and tries to speaking to Strickland, but his words are slurred. White light from the ground, Dennis says. You think that caused the power outage? Think that brought monsters out? Could be, Strickland says, but your crew is far enough away from the facility, or at least we thought you were. Dennis chuckles in a way that makes him sound menacing. Nope. Wrong. You thought wrong. So you and Barksdale is the only survivors? It seems that way. Those that didn't disappear into thin air were killed by those things, Strickland says, nodding to the secured door. How many were killed? I'm guessing 30 or so. I'm not sure how many were scheduled to come in today. I'm glad to see you. Where were you when it happened, Amy asks. I was in the micro lab on level 2, Strickland replies. Park and O'Brien were in there with me and they just disappeared. It looks like they were being stretched, distorted, and then there was a ball of white light and they were gone. The ball of light just annihilated everything it touched. Would it leave a perfectly round hole, I ask, a light bulb turning in my head? We saw some of those up at the logging site. Yeah, and I saw a ball of white too. That was probably the same phenomenon. Amy looks at the ground like a child that is afraid to ask an adult for something. Finally, she asks, "Where did they go?" "We don't know," Strickland says. "It could be an infinite number of different dimensions, or even some dimensions that merge and mix together. It could also be a place that exists between dimensions. Barksdale calls it the void. I'd call it dead." "No, we keep tabs on the heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing of all the rats and human test subjects. Wherever they go for that time, they're still very much alive." I wince through the rest of Strickland's stitching. That is fascinating. Feeling the tug of my skin, but thankfully no more flowing blood. Strickland finally says, "You're good to go." She looks over Dennis one more time. He doesn't so much as stir when he rechecks her work. She's already having to remove the gauze on his wrist as it's soaked through with blood. The wound looks like it's starting to clot, so that's good at least. I stare at the floor as Strickland does what she can. "Will he make it?" I ask. "I'm not a doctor, not really. But based on the bit that I know, I'd say it's about 50-50 right now." "So have you and Barksdale been able to contain all those creatures?" Amy asks. Strickland appears shocked, clearly not the reaction Amy was expecting. "Contain? Are you nuts? Do you not know what's happening?" Amy's eyes widen in fearful confusion. "What do you mean what's happening? Other than the initial experiment failure? The anomalies are becoming more numerous and further from the source," Strickland says. The casual humor in her voice is gone. "Further from the source? Are they everywhere now?" "From the location of the original experiment. The experiment caused the first doorway to open, but it set off a chain reaction. They're gaining momentum along geodesics emanating from the facility. It's these pockets of exotic matter and negative energy that are letting those things in." "What the hell does that mean?" "It means," Amy chimes in, "that those doorways and monsters are starting to appear all over the facility, maybe even the surface. Not yet, luckily, but the doorways will start appearing on the surface, and it won't stop there. The anomaly's reach could extend infinitely as far as we know. Those entities will appear on the surface in other states, other countries." "Holy shit," I say. "You mean the world is going to be overrun?" The horror of the past few hours has made me ready to believe anything, but this is almost too much. "Unfortunately, yes." "My God," Amy says, stepping away. "Isn't there anything that we could do?" "There is a last resort," Strickland says, her eyes darting over Barksdale at the back of the room. "There's an emergency failsafe switch." "What?" Amy says. "I never heard of that. Where?" "You weren't cleared for it. And that switch is a way to stop this?" "Yes," Strickland says, seeming uneasy with the conversation. "What does the switch do?" "The switch is our eraser. It destroys the entire facility and terminates any systems or experiments that are being conducted. It's also an emergency shutdown for interdimensional travel. It puts an event horizon around the facility." "What the hell is that? Is that a black hole?" "It's the perimeter of a black hole, the boundary inside which nothing can escape, not even light. But there's two problems with hitting the switch. So the first problem is we'd all be killed, sucked into a black hole before we'd have time to evacuate. The second reason is that Barksdale won't allow it." "What? Why not? He wants to allow those things to flood the surface? Thousands, millions will die." Strickland puts her hand up, silencing Amy. They both peer over to the far side of the room where Barksdale has his back turned. I know. He says he doesn't care. He says he'll be happy to be rid of the oversight so he can continue his work." "The oversight?" Amy almost screams, regaining control of her voice when Strickland gives her another look of warning. "You mean our government?" I ask. "He's aware this could disrupt, even topple our government, and he doesn't care." "Barksdale is, well, he's off the range now. He's gone rogue and he's armed." This comment makes me look towards the handgun I brought in with me. I'd nearly forgotten it in the last few moments. While Barksdale has his back turned, I take it in my hands and slide it behind me. Just in time, too, as Barksdale walks over from the back of the room to our side of the chamber. He gives Strickland a suspicious look before speaking to her. "Are the two civilians going to survive?" he asks. Dennis chuckles at this, and I'm revealed to see that his eyes are open. He gives a lazy thumbs up. "One is stitched up and good to go, but the other here is in bad shape. He needs immediate medical attention." "Understood," Barksdale says. "Amy, it's quite nice to see that you have survived. Were there any others?" The aloof way this asshole is talking to us is getting under my skin. "A guy named Marcus that works on the first level from IT. That's all I know for sure. Marcus Pabscott. Where is he?" "We're not sure. He was separated from us." "Oh," Barksdale replies, clearly taken aback by my stern reply. "That's unfortunate." Barksdale seems to think about something and then looks directly at me. "You're with the logging crew, aren't you? Remind me, how did you get in here again? We were searching for our crew. Ah, makes sense. The cloaks for the entrance shed are tied to a primary source, Barksdale says, and we lost primary power before the experiment failed. Cloak, I ask? Yes, Strickland says. The shed you entered is usually not visible to the naked eye. Depending on the power sources that were damaged, Barksdale continues, it could have also shut down the locking systems before backups kicked in. Everything is starting to make sense now. From the very start, it seemed peculiar that we'd so easily been able to walk into a place like this. What caused the experiment to fail? Your crew hit one of our main power lines. We aren't sure exactly how, but we know that's what did it. You're trying to blame all this on me? The timing was unfortunate. Where's the rest of our crew? So it was us. Your crew? Frank and Joe? They're gone. Gone? Gone where? They were annihilated by antimatter pockets created during the failure. A bright ball of light destroyed them. In the aftermath, all you'd see would be a round hole in the ground. Barksdale says this like he's sharing yesterday's sports scores. I let my face crumble into my hands. I'd suspected this. All this time, and they were already dead. Behind me, Dennis lets out the beginning of a sob. Damn it. Damn it, he mutters over and over. So, Amy asks, what do we do now? Now it's time to continue our work, Barksdale says calmly, turning away to the instruments near the wall. You're insane. That is very clear. You want to keep your little toys to yourself, I say, my teeth clenched, and you're willing to unleash those monsters on the world to do it? Indeed, Barksdale says. I want to continue my work. Other researchers will eventually discover what we have, sure. But I want it to be me. This is my laboratory. These are my experiments. The work I've led here will earn me my place in history. And quite frankly, I don't need to explain it to you. Up on the surface, they'll struggle to defend themselves. Since they won't know what they're dealing with, I have the necessary weapons. After a few months, who knows? Maybe I'll decide the world is ready for me to help them, and we'll go from there. Strickland steps up directly beside me and whispers in my ear. I wouldn't push him, she says. He's usually very logical, but this whole thing has pushed him somewhere else. He's, well, off. He turns his back to us as he says this, walking to the far side of the chamber, like we're some kind of distraction. Amy takes this opportunity to whisper to us. We need to hit that switch. It's the only option. What he's saying is murder, treason, genocide. She looks over to Strickland for support, trailing off. But Strickland looks to the ground, clearly torn. She won't look anyone in the eye and makes an effort not to look at Barksdale. He seems distracted with whatever instruments he's studying on the far side of the room. At this moment, I realize my body feels like a bomb went off inside it. Maybe those painkillers wouldn't have been so bad. Strickland finally whispers a response. Even if we decide that we want to hit that switch, Barksdale won't allow us. You can figure something out, right? Maybe you guys could make a break for it, Strickland whispers. Where's the switch located? There's an elevator out in the hangar. Take it to the basement. The switch is at the end of a long tunnel. But Strickland never finishes. Two things happen at once she speaks, her mouth stopping in mid-sentence. First, a loud booming noise rings out, and then the top of her head seems to explode. Amy screams out in surprise, and Dennis and I jump back in shock as Strickland's body collapses beside me. Behind her fallen body, Barksdale is holding his experimental rifle, and now he's pointing it at us. Holy fucking shit. The music is way too calm for that. My God. Oh God. That's not good. Holy shit. I wonder if Barksdale is even crazier than Marcus. He just shot a woman that worked for him to keep her quiet. Surely he won't have an issue with killing me. Now, Barksdale yells, no more whispering, no secrets. You three will stay in here and get away from that door. If anyone whispers one more time, I'll blow your heads off. My mind is racing to figure out a way to get through the secured door and into the hangar. Beyond that, of course, there's a failsafe switch. Insulting Barksdale might not be the best idea. Make a distraction, maybe? I try my best to be a good actor as I wobble to my feet a bit. I start forward again, and then wobble some more. Amy is apparently catching on because she's at my side in a second. She looks over at Barksdale. He's lost a lot of blood. Let me check his wounds real quick. After he dared to talk to me like that, he's been through a lot. He's clearly delusional. Dennis seems to not quite know what's going on, but luckily Barksdale isn't paying attention to him. You can check him back here. You'll have 30 seconds to get away from that door, or I will... I stretch out my acting skills and actually stumble to a knee. I make a show of trying to get to my feet and still stand still for a moment. I'm okay. I think as quickly as I can, I raise my gun and fire. I don't even take aim, I just fire in Barksdale's general direction. Barksdale takes off running as my shot misses wide. He runs for cover to the back of the room. That's all we need. Amy fires a shot to keep him under cover as we head for the door. Amy pushes a button and the door swings open. Barksdale will be on us in a second, so we dash out into the hangar, ready to defend ourselves. I can't believe he just killed Strickland. There must be something going on that is driving people insane, because Marcus and Barksdale seem to be very off color. Like, it just seems like something is very wrong. All three of us run as fast as we can get through the row of barrels. Right away, though, Barksdale gunfire separates us. I hear a shot hit nearby as I dive down, and realize that neither Dennis nor Amy is with me. I hear Amy cry out from somewhere else in the barrels. Peering around the barrels closest to me, I can see Dennis. He's crawling slowly on the floor, 2 rows away from me. Seeing him move so slowly, I can't imagine how he's finding the strength to even do that. Stop this nonsense! I've got a good mind to shoot the fuel and kill all of you! It's then that I realize that not getting away from him, these barrels may be our death sentence. Well, I mean, there's like either a selfish thing or a not selfish thing, but I'm gonna tell them to get away. I'm trying to be good here. Before I can do anything, a shot comes from the isolation chamber. It's immediately followed by a pinging sound and a massive wall of heat. I feel the heat before I feel the force of the explosion. It occurs several rows ahead of me and I can still feel the physical push of it. I hear Dennis scream and the clanging of metal. That's when another barrel explodes and then another, and I realize I could run back and help or try to get myself clear. Well, I've gotta help. I might not have enough time to do either before the next round of eruptions. What the hell should I do? I've gotta help them. I can't not help them. My instinct to help overcomes my instinct to survive. If I don't help them now, the exploding barrels will leave Dennis and Amy as good as dead. I turn and start heading their way, but I'm not quick enough. Another barrel blows up between us and throws me back across the hangar floor. My face and arms scream with the unimaginable pain of deep burns as I'm lifted from the ground and tossed forward by the explosion. I slowly muscle myself up off the ground and try to regain my footing. My entire body feels sore, begging me to just stop. When I look back for Dennis and Amy, the scene is not promising. Neither of them seems to be able to move on their own. Dennis is lying flat on his face, unmoving. Amy is about 20 feet away from him. She's wailing in pain and clutching her leg. Behind them, I can see Barksdale looking for another shot through the fire and evaporated liquid nitrogen. I fire off a single shot just to get him to duck behind a barrel. I look back and find Dennis and Amy and see the fire nearing the fuel barrels. I can maybe keep Barksdale pinned down long enough to pick them up one by one and help them walk to the elevators, but more barrels could blow at any moment. I might only have time to save one of them. Oh no! Oh no. I have to pick? Dennis is... I'm not even looking at this from like, I know Dennis, I know Amy's standpoint. Like, Dennis is the one who is hurt more. I don't even... God damn it. Fuck! Ugh! You chose to help Dennis first. I take a deep breath and sprint back out into the open among the fire and heat. Right away, I start taking blind shots at Barksdale. He fires back only once and the shot goes off into the growing flames around me. I take one more shot and then reach down for Dennis. He's basically dead weight at this point. He's almost too heavy for me. My wounded shoulder screams in pain as I get him to his feet. I drag him back, narrowly avoiding the fire and death. I try shooting at Barksdale, but trying to keep the gun aim the gun while carrying Dennis proves to be too much. Barksdale gets a single shot off as we round the corner to where the elevator waits. I set Dennis down, and he's still unresponsive. Drenched in sweat, I reel around and head back to get Amy. I only make it a single step before I see her. I open my mouth to call to her, but an explosion right beside her cuts me off. She's shoved hard to the left from the force of the explosion. I run to help, but Barksdale is firing at me again. I give Amy one last regretful look and then rush back to the elevator and Dennis. My nerves are drenched in fear and adrenaline. When I reach out to press the call button on the elevator, it feels like I'm watching someone else do it. As Dennis and I step inside, the motors on the elevator squeal like dying dogs. It's an old service elevator made of wood and metal, like something from a coal mine. As the elevator slides down, the light from the flames give way to complete blackness, and now it's just me and Dennis once again. Good God! The fuck is happening? Man, this is fucking ridiculous. This is fucking insane. There's gotta be something with this event that is driving people mad. I lose track of how long the elevator descends. It's hard to tell due to the lack of lighting, but it must go down another 500 feet underground. The elevator comes to a stop with a shuddering clang, and I waste no time exiting. A tunnel stretches out with sparse white bulbs lighting the way. Most of the wall is made from raw earth and rock, but there are boards and concrete slathered in areas used to reinforce the tunnel. I see a warning sign posted on the wall. I want to read it, but there's not much time. I gotta read the notice. I mean, what's really gonna keep me up? I mean, he's 500 feet up. Gotta read at least. Warning, authorized personnel only beyond this point. Trespassers will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Absolutely no exceptions. Well, glad to get out of that way, now that everyone is dead. After only a few steps, the pain in my body intensifies. How stupid was I to turn down those painkillers? I mean, it would have made me slow! I look up, and when I see that the tunnel ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes for a moment. The ceiling is not high, and there's barely enough room for Dennis and me to walk side by side. His eyes are half closed, and he looks on the verge of passing out again. It's okay, I tell him. We're almost done. A little further, okay? He shakes his head and says, I'm sorry, Roger, but I don't think I can go any further. I lower him to the floor as easily as I can and let him rest. I'll be back, I tell him, hoping it's true. The switch should be down here somewhere. I give Dennis one last look and then start down the tunnel ahead of me. I look up, and when I see that the tunnel ceiling is less than 6 inches over my head, claustrophobia freezes me for a moment. Still, it's much better than facing the monsters above me. Why are things repeating again? I wonder then, walking through the darkness, where they came from. Is the portal still open? I keep walking into the darkness, and within 5 minutes, the glow of the red light from the elevator is diminished. It's almost completely dark. I hold the gun in one hand and reach out to touch the wall with my other. Feeling the gun in my palm anchors me to reality, to sanity. I am not in some boundless abyss, but still in the real world. For a little while longer, at least. I recognize that I'm marching to my end. As much as I wish I weren't, it's not surprising. From the moment that I saw those creatures could do to time and space, at least a part of me knew that death was inevitable. Before I have time to wonder what will happen, I see a light ahead. It's nothing more than a speck of blue light, but in the darkness of the tunnel, it's like a lighthouse on a stormy sea. I slog forward, my eyes straining to focus on what little light ahead. From somewhere ahead, I start to hear something that sounds like water. It's trickling lightly, like a leaky faucet. And behind that, there's something that sounds like wind, a light breeze, an open field, and a voice. Anywhere else, the sounds would have been pleasant, but here in the blackness of the tunnel, they are menacing. Well, best not to break character. I keep shouting at the darkness through this whole story. Hello? Hello? My voice doesn't echo like it should in this small space. This weirds me out even more than the lack of response. I cock my head, trying to concentrate, and then I realize that I can see the tunnel walls now. This is odd, as I wasn't able to see them a few seconds ago. This is different from the blue light at the end of the tunnel. It's then that I see the slight shimmering in the air. It looks like a foggy mirror steamed over after a shower, and it's moving, dancing in the air like some abstract firefly. It's not menacing like the creatures, so that threat is null. It's peaceful, serene. I watch as this shimmer branches out and becomes 2, then 3, then 4. They snake out in different directions, tracing the tunnel walls. Are these shimmers the doors to another dimension that Strickland was talking about? Suddenly, I'm surrounded by light, above and below me, and I realize there's no avoiding it. The question is, how am I going to go through? All right, dive head first. That's me. I stick my head through and feel a tingling sensation, almost pleasant. I reach out slowly, my hand stretching out to one of those shimmers of what I can only assume are some kind of light. They're hypnotizing. So much so that I don't realize that the tunnel walls are vanishing. I feel something like wind, and a brief electrical pulse pass through me as the lights take me. There's then a very gentle pushing sensation, and I somehow know that I'm being expelled. I pass through something. Maybe the lights, maybe the tunnel walls, I don't know. But the shimmering lights fade a bit, still dancing in the air, but no longer large and branching out. And as my eyes adjust, I see right away that I'm no longer standing in that dark tunnel far beneath the hangar. I have no idea where I am. I'm just somewhere else. And I'm terrified. So are these like the lights that took... Whoa. Whoa! Are these like the lights that took everyone else? Did I just get taken? The ground I land on looks like hot coals. There are dips in many cliffs breaking the landscape ahead of me. There's a wash of orange and blue overhead in the sky that makes no sense. It's both beautiful and terrifying at once. A scattering of stars hang overhead, and they all seem to be breathing, pulsing with a gentle energy as if alive. I can't tell if there are clouds in the sky because everything about it, from the colors to the trembling horizon line, seems to be amorphous. Everything is knitted together, living. I stare a moment longer and can swear I feel the sky is breathing. Far off to my right, I see what looks to be a plume of fire. Small yet bright, with no source of fuel. It looks as if the ground itself is creating the flame. Several more of these flames dot the landscape further out. The air is thick and muggy. Then I realize something horrible. I don't know if what I'm breathing here resembles air at all. In a place like this, one of the impossible beauty, but also very stark horror. My mind doesn't know what to do. A wave of nausea comes over me and I think I might be sick. I'm not sure if it would be better to fight it or give in. The white light that brought me here is nowhere to be found. Is anyone else even here? Is there any way to escape? Well, better continue my yelling! I take a deep breath of whatever otherworldly gas is filling this place and belt out as loud as I can. Hello! Hello! Is anybody here? I hear a voice in response. It's faint, distant. I turn and hear it coming from one of the massive crevices along the ground. Inside of that crack, about 10 feet down, a very pale man lies on a ledge. He's human, but looks close to death. He's in the center of a very large pool of blood, and his left leg has been twisted and torn in an unnatural way. As I walk to the ledge, he looks up and sees me. Help me, please, the man says. His eyes are wide, although everything about him speaks of weakness. He's close to death or insanity, or both. Who are you? I'm Dr. Kana. He strains to get out. I work in the facility. He's the one that disappeared and never came back in the experiments. Please, help. I want to know more, but it seems cruel to steal what looks like his last breath just answering my question. I'd love to, but I don't know where the hell I am or how to get back home. The light. It's a doorway. It might take you back to the facility. Where did it go? They come and go. They'll be back. Now please, help me. I desperately want to help, but there's no way I can reach him. His ledge is too far away, above the pools of fire. I don't think I can get to you. No, that's not what I meant. He replies. His eyes are on the handgun that I almost forget that I'm still holding. I realize what he wants and I shake my head. I can't, I say. I can't do that. Please, he pleads. Those things, they have the others that came here with me. I got dropped along the way. They'll be back. They'll be back and they'll kill me. That will be quicker and less painful. I can't, I repeat. Please, look at my damn leg. I'm dead anyway. I'm about to refuse him again when I hear an all too familiar static sound out from another crevice behind him. I hear another of those shrill noises and then watch as one of the creatures materializes up out of the neighboring crevice. Two more come out after that, then a third, then 5, then 10. Soon I lose count as what was just a few turns into a flood. And I suddenly understand the man's reasoning. A bullet would be a mercy. I check the gun and see that I only have 1 round left. I can use it on this guy, but I may need it for myself later. From beside me, the man pleads again. My God, he says. Please. Not a decision that I take lightly, but who knows how long he's been here. They said that experiment was like, what, a month ago? He chose to shoot the man. I look back to the man and wince. I know it's the right thing to do, but my finger resists. With a roar of disgust, I level the gun towards his head, turn my eyes away, and then pull the trigger. Your aim is true. The man crumples lifelessly to the ground. And that's when I see the shimmers wavering to my right, in the direction I originally came from. I look back to the monsters and see that they have now noticed me. Some of them begin floating up the walls of the crevice. There are less than 10 feet separating us. The shimmers of white light are within arm's reach, its movements reminding me of a fish in an aquarium. I reach out and feel myself accepted by them again. I feel the sensation of wind and wait for the feeling of being pushed out, back to the tunnel of this facility. But it doesn't come this time. This time I feel something else. I feel a tugging sensation that seems to want to drag me in all directions at once. As the world goes dark, I realize that I am somewhere else, and it is not the darkness of the tunnel. This is the darkness of a total void. Man, this story has taken us wild places. And it's fucking amazing. There is darkness around me everywhere. Nothingness. I feel nothing under my feet, nothing to my sides. I can't touch or sense anything at all. I don't even know which way is up or down. It's as though I am all that exists. And as I remain there, I just hear silence, not even the sound of my heartbeat. The blackness is so deep that I feel I can't distinguish my thoughts and what is real. I hear screaming, but I can't tell if it's someone else or my mind screaming to fill this void. And I'm going to cry out, because that's what I do. I hear my own shout in my head, but it doesn't seem to travel out in the abyss. It bounces in my head endlessly, like an echo down a long, ancient corridor. I assume this is the place that Strickland referred to. The place between dimensions. This darkness could consume me if it wanted to. I try to will myself out of it, to have those shimmering lights spit me out, but it isn't happening. At this point, my mind starts to hallucinate, or at least I think it does. Are they visions? My mind playing tricks on me? I can't tell. All I can do is watch. I see the logging site and Tony's legs still pinned under the dozer. I feel a pang of regret that I left him in such a state. I see myself talking to Dennis and he looks distraught as I tell him that Tony is gone. Then the scene rearranges itself and I'm standing between Dennis and Marcus's gun. It changes again and the shape of Marcus lies on the ground, still hell-bent on revenge, even after I let him live. In my mind, I'm sobbing as I shoot off Dennis's hand, trying to convince myself it was the only way to save him, but he'll never forgive me. I try to let out a scream as Dennis and I watch Amy get blown apart by the barrel's explosions. But there's still no sound. And just when I feel like I can't take any more of this, I see the man in that strange world begging for death. I watch as I take his life just before those beasts reach him. All of these things are flooding my mind, and it feels like my brain is vomiting. Yet in the midst of it all, I see what's really important. The switch. In my mind's eye, I see that glowing light in the tunnel, the one far ahead, small and distant. I focus my mind on the tunnel and the image of that flickering light. With a mental effort so strong that it's nearly a physical motion, I make myself envision that little light in the tunnel as if it were right there in front of me. With that, I feel the wind again, a light breeze that seems to come from everywhere. And then with a relief that I can only imagine feels like death, I move forward. That was fucking insane. Oh, Jeebus. Oh my God. I'm ejected from the void and suddenly standing in the tunnel again. I let out a wail of triumph that turns into a bout of weeping. The weeping only intensifies when I see that light up ahead, a flickering blue light. Somewhere behind me, I hear a crackling noise. I can only hope they haven't reached Dennis, but it's too late to even worry about that. After coming this far, I'm not about to turn back. I feel like I can listen to get a better read on where they are, or I can just make a break for it. Try to listen. Best than to just sprint. I try my best to listen, attempting to figure out how far away they are. But the sound carries strangely down here. Right now, that static sound makes it seem like they're only about 30 yards away. Knowing my time is running out, I run as fast as my aching and confused body will allow, headed straight for the blue light. As I run, I see a different light. A white one flickering in my peripheral vision. It's another one of those shimmers that go to other worlds. It seems like they're appearing and disappearing with more frequency now. Strickland was right. These things could reach the surface soon, unleashing more monsters. This thought makes me refocus on the blue light, the man-made light, the switch. The blue light gets closer, and as it does, I can make out a square shape around it. This has to be it. The familiar static scream of the monsters is much closer now. I have to be quick. I grip the gun tightly, regretting my decision to use the last bullet on the man in the other world. Looks like all I'll be using this for is a bludgeon. I run ahead into the darkness, my eyes locked on the switch that I assume is going to kill not only the creatures, but myself as well. As I approach, I see the lever. It's covered by a glass box that I'll need to break. The blue light is directly beneath this, highlighting a series of tubes and wires that snake into the inner workings of the device. In the middle is blackness. Not like a darkly colored part of the machine, but just a hole in reality. It looks like some sort of illusion. All the while, I can hear the static of the creatures coming up dangerously close now. I have no idea how much time I have. Gotta press forward, smash that glass. I draw back the stock of the gun and smash through the glass box that houses the lever. The glass shattering is like music to my ears. I reach out for the lever, my hand grasping it. Without warning, I feel immense pain course through my body. It feels like fire racing down my back, causing me to fall to one knee in agony. There's only one of them, that I can see. It blasts horrible static noise at me as I ready my gun. With no bullets left, I get ready to use it as a club. I try to strike. The monster bats the gun away, wrapping it into an S shape, then follows up by swinging its appendages at me. The sting of its touch forces me back against the side of the cavern. My face striking the wall hard. My jaw crunches and I feel a sharp pain encompass my head. Then the creature is upon me. Its tentacles melt into me and I scream. I can't help it. I sound like a wild animal. I can try to keep fending it off, or I can go for broke and just focus on the lever. Creatures be damned. I'm going for the lever. I put all my strengths into my legs. The moment that the monster in front of me draws back its eel-like arms to grab me, I pivot backwards. My back strikes the machine, sending agony rocketing through my body. I'm so thankful I broke the glass before this moment, before the coming violence. I stretch out and grab the lever. With one last desperate scream that shreds my voice, I jam it down. The tunnel is suddenly filled with a flash of intense darkness. It expands from the switch, swallowing the matter around it. At first, I'm sure this is the end of me. I expect the darkness to consume me, followed by death. But then another shimmer of dancing white light appears next to me. There are more of those streams of light, rips in space like the ones that previously sent me to the other ungodly world in the void. With nothing else to do but die, I try to escape into the shimmer. When that stream of light envelops me, the expanding darkness of the switch is gone and I feel a huge push. What the fuck? Oh shit. Am I in space? My body feels stretched, collapsing, like I'm falling in all directions at once. The world goes white and then there are pinpoints of stars everywhere. One of them breezes it directly by my right and I see something that looks like a spiral galaxy distorted in its folds. To my right I see an endless stretch of stars and gas clouds forming some galactic architecture. But beyond the immeasurable beauty, I notice something. I'm seeing the same star patterns over and over. They are repeating like reflections in an endless mirror. Are these different versions of the same galaxies, the same realities? To my left, I see a calm blue world and can barely make out trees. Familiar Kentucky freeze that I've been around for the last few weeks. To my right, I see a copy, an orange world where the trees are well, but something is strange, disturbing. As I zoom by, I'm not sure how much control I have in this unusual place. But if I can direct myself, it's worth trying. This is so weird. Me personally, I'm drawn towards the orange one because it's something new. I'm just weirdly drawn towards it. I don't know why. I try to focus my mind on heading towards the orange world, not knowing what to expect. My breath escapes me for a moment. Everything is dark and peaceful and nothing hurts. Yeah, I don't even know why. Because obviously the blue world is the familiar world that I came from. But this orange world is like, what's in there? Why does it exist? With breath back inside my body, I gasp and open my eyes. I'm back. Back at the logging site. How? I'm not sure. Did the shimmers react with the explosion of the switch? Some other accident? I have no idea. I sit up right away and become instantly dizzy. Dennis, I say. I have no reason to think that he survived whatever happened in the tunnel, but there's some sort of certainty that gets me to my feet. I wonder if I am somehow back in time before we found the facility, but what happens next makes me realize that can't be true. As I start walking forward, I feel a tremor in the ground. Somewhere off in the distance, I hear a metallic groan. In the buried facility, it's being ripped apart under the ground by the activation of the switch. There's no way Barksdale and Marcus survived. Good riddance. I stumble a bit, and when I do, I see the body on the forest floor. Dennis. How is he here? Did he get caught in those shimmers as well? I decide I don't care and scramble over to him. Dennis, can you hear me? Yeah, he says, the slightest twitch behind his eyes, and for the moment that's good enough for me. To my left, through a tangle of partially destroyed trees and woodland, a pillar of smoke begins to rise into the air. We've made it out of the facility alive, and that, I suppose, is the most important thing, but something feels off in a way I can't explain. It's then, as I look up and notice the sky, that it starts to sink in. There's something different about it, something not right. That sky does not belong here. It's a sky of oranges and blues, stars pulse in and out as if alive. The colors of the sky seem to breathe, as if they're trying to inhale the tops of the spruce trees. I see those colors all knitted together and living. My stomach rolls and arises up in my throat. What the hell have I done? The end! What?
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh my god. Well, that's the end. Okay, let's talk about this. Tough It Out was logical because you don't want the painkillers clouding your judgment. Dennis has been with me the whole time. I can't leave him behind. And also, I didn't know for a certainty that it would kill one or the other. I don't know. And 30% of people killed the man. Or, yeah, not many people. And then very, very few people went to the orange world. And I don't know what that means. The choice between the blue and the orange world. They're like parallel dimensions, but one exists in the world where that weird on-fire hell landscape world was. The same sky, the oranges and blues, that was the same sky. The facility was still ripped apart, but what does that mean? Did I have control over the reality of what happened, or is this a parallel world where something has been changed? I don't know. But that's the end? Is there any sort of... Oh, okay. Oh, no! What did I do? Oh my god. That was amazing. That was an amazing story. That was just an unbelievably amazing story. I had the time of my life. It was like a book that I couldn't put down. It was so good and so weird and so confusing. What were the differences for my choices? They were so vast. Oh my god, that is fucking incredible. Like, are there different endings to this? I have no idea. I have no idea how many endings there are. Let me look that up, actually. I'm gonna look that up. Oh man, I can't find anything on an explicit walkthrough, but I think this is something that you guys just have to experience for yourself. There's a lot of choices that need to be made in this game, and I don't know how much of a vast impact it has on the actual ending, or what the ending fully means with the ramifications of what I have done. But I don't know. It's something that you guys have to find out for yourself. So if you want to play this and you want to make your own choices and you want to experience your own story with probably better choices than I made, but my choices were true to me, try it for yourself. I'll put a link in the description. But thank you everybody so much for joining me on this adventure. This was a ride. This was a wild ride. And I loved every second of it. So thank you everybody so much for watching. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments below, because there is so much to process and I'm going to be thinking about this all day long. But either way, thanks again. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!